So people, obviously what's not going to happen is that we're not going to be turning in our drawings in a shade mode. That shade mode is just there to help us from time to time see different parts of the assembly. So what are we going to do in this particular instance to show our TPO going up the side? Well, there's a number of different ways we could approach it. So let me go back to a hidden line feature. All right. So I've got that thickness in there of about a 1/4 inch. So what I'm going to do is just go over here to um, annotate, and then I'm going to go to detail lines, right? And under detail lines, medium lines are going to be just fine. I'm just going to come in here and right around that intersection, all I'm going to do is draw a line to here, and then I'm going to draw a line that's going to come most of the way up here. Now we're going to probably adjust this at some point, and you'll, when I say adjust, you'll see what I mean. Right now I'm just going to draw that line generally up to here, and then I'm going to go up here to modify, and I'm going to just offset it by a 1/4 inch. All right, and I can offset this direction and I can offset that direction, right? And I'm just going to pull this and integrate that right into there, okay? And that's going to be my TPO right there. How am I going to make it look more like TPO? You know what I can do to do that? I'm going to draw a filled region. Well, what do I mean by filled region? Remember under annotate, under region, and we can have a filled region. And that filled region is going to be not solid black, but I'm going to select solid black right now and go to edit type, and then up here I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to say solid, let's make it solid white, or let's make it gray for right now, right? Because you can get gray TPO roofs, and this is just for the benefit of us seeing it. So now I can go in here and I can change that to gray, and if I want I can also change that to a grayish color, right? And now I have to just draw. So where am I going to draw this? So I'm going to come in here, and I could do this a number of ways. I could pick lines, but I'm just going to go ahead and draw all the way around right here, okay? I'm going to come to here, and I'm going to come down to here, and to here, and to there, and right back up to here. And now you see it's got that gray right there. You see that? Now I'm also going to, you see where my TPO roof actually is? I'm also going to put a filled region in there as well. So I'm going to go to filled region, right? And I'm still on solid gray, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw here. And then, you know, I don't have to be so precise, but, you know, I'll draw about over to here, right? I'm just going to go to where, I'll go to maybe right before that detail stops, and then I'll come up to here, right? And you see my roof is sloping now, so I'm going to draw it back right to here. All right. And now there's my TPO roof coming here and transitioning and coming up my parapet. And we're going to have to figure out, how are we going to cover the top of this thing? Well, there's a number of ways we can do it, and we're going to probably change this after a while, but let's just look at an option we have. I'm gonna go ahead and save my drawing because it's good to save, and I'm gonna say insert, load family, and I'm gonna go right back. I'm at roof and roof insulation, right? I'll go back to that thermal moisture protection. Let's see if I can, how about sheet metal flashing and trim? And what if I got, you know, I'm going to need certain pieces of this, most definitely, right? This wall flashing. But see, there's a roof edge section. There's some coping sections, right? There's some gutter sections, some fascia sections. But if I want to put a cap of some sort up there, I've got to think how would I go about placing that. I want to pause the video and talk about something. Okay, so what we just did, we loaded a family from, again, Division 7, sheet metal flashing and trim, and we put the coping right? We got a coping section here, and we loaded that, and it comes in multiple sizes, as you can see in our project browser. I'm going to grab that and drag it out here, and I'm going to place it. And then because I know this is just over 20 inches, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to see if I can make this change as well. So I'm going to say edit type, and I'm going to say duplicate, and I'm going to say, how about 21, right? 21 by 4 by 5. And I'm going to say this is going to be 21 inches. So you see how that changed for me? And I still have that slope in there as well. So now I can drag this over here. Now, this is one option for us, right? I could put this parapet cap on here, right? And if I look at I think one of the things I showed you earlier, one of the pictures of that roof detail. Oh, wrong roof detail. Do me a favor. Look in your textbook. Hopefully you have your textbook out. Some of you do, some of you don't, I'm sure. But if you look in your textbook on page 866, it has a good, although it's reversed, it has a good diagram of the coping that I just pulled out and showed you. I'll try and really quickly pull up let me see if I can pull up a tab and show you something. All right, so here's a good diagram. All right, and there's a couple of different ways to kind of look at this. So you see, oh, I gotta share my screen. Hold on a second, people. I'm sorry. It says I am sharing my screen. Why am I? Oh, okay, you guys see it. So you see this coping that I put here, that I have here, right? It's in red. So that sheet metal portion is the first way we start protecting the wall. Then we have some under kind of counter flashing here. Um, Here's another example of this. Let's see if this pops up like I'd like. Yeah, so you can see in some instances how this coping is placed at the top of the wall and how it has to be fastened with what? Here's the roof membrane. You see that part, how it's wrapped? In some instances, they'll wrap that membrane all the way up to this portion of the roof. You're like, wow, that's overkill. But that's what helps keep that membrane in place. They won't always come up to the top of the parapet, but they'll come pretty close like we just drew. They just don't necessarily wrap over the wall, okay? That's one way that you can look at it. In some other instances, what we can do, here is another instance. Here's our building science website, and we've already kind of looked at that, but now we're seeing a little more how that coping will attach to the top of the parapet. So on top of the parapet is not just the top of the wall, but what else are we going to need? We're going to need a 2x member or multiple 2x members along with a wedge in there to help slope that back to the roof. You see what's going on there? We'll go down and look at this. Here's another example, kind of what we're looking at. There's our cant strip. There's our membrane, fully adhered, wrapping up the wall to a point. And then in here, you see how they got a 2x member with another sloping piece of probably, I would say this might be a piece of plywood, right? Plywood's going to handle it better in the moisture than the OSB, or it could be a piece of composite board, which means it's a poly type of board that's not going to rot. But we usually use wood of some sort in there to help us build up so that we can slope back to the roof. Hopefully that makes sense, okay? And so there's a lot of different ways to detail that. Another way to approach that, instead of actually putting the coping up here that you see in the Revit model that I have, the sheet metal coping, what we can also do is put a piece of a precast, okay? Here's a precast piece of coping. It's a piece of concrete that's precast into the shape we need. And then when we place that up there, we don't necessarily need the flashing, but look what has to happen. We have to flash into the masonry that we have on the wall. So I am going to actually provide you with the detail that you're going to use to finish this out. I just want you to have this view in place and ready to detail when I give it to you, okay? So from this point on, you're gonna look at all the annotation I have, and you're gonna copy the annotation I have once I put it on here for you, and I'm gonna give that detail to you. It's not gonna be today, but you're gonna get that detail. Up until this point today, I just want you to have this material in here. Now I'm going to slide that out of the way for a minute and show you where we could get one of the other members. If we go to load family and we're still in detail items, notice under concrete, under precast, there's precast structural concrete. We don't want that because that's beams and columns. We want to see where maybe we could find the precast item. So I'm going to stop the video, pause it, and we're going to talk about something. So what we determined was that in this instance, under concrete, which is in division 3, is where structural precast is. But under masonry, it's considered a stone assembly, and here's a coping stone. We also have precast lintels in here and sills for like window sills when we have masonry, and we have some of those too. But we'll grab this coping stone, right? And under the coping stone, you can see that we've got, if we pull this out, we've got this masonry coping stone that we could place here, right? And truthfully, that one is not quite big enough, right? So we come in here and we click on this and we say edit type, and we'll say duplicate, and we'll make this maybe 24, I would say. And then I'm going to say 12 here, and then 12 here. And now I'll say align to here, this, and come to the middle of my wall and put that in. And that would probably suit what we're doing more, okay? But now the question is, I've got this here. What about in my 3D view? Well, obviously what we know is that when we do that, right, it's not going to show out here. So there's another way that we have to show that coping out here. And we'll pick that up in one of our next lessons, but I can tell you that it's going to be, if you go under here, think about some of the things that you've seen and we've done before. It's probably going to be a sweep of some sorts. And what's interesting is that when we do sweeps, right, if we go to insert, load family, and we were to go to profiles, under the profiles, under roofs, you know, you would think, oh, it would be under a roof sweep because we're doing it. It's not going to be under the roof sweep. I'm going to let you consider where some of that might be, but I can tell you too, it's not exactly where you think it is. So we'll pick that back up in another lesson, but there's that precast cap, right? And so we're going to have to come back, right, and put that on. But before we do it, we're going to have a particular profile. And I'm actually going to build that profile for you. I'm not going to make you do it. But again, if you're putting something on a wall, you look under a wall. It's not necessarily going to be on a roof because it's a parapet cap or it's a stone coping, okay? So I just kind of wanted you to see that as we go forward. And don't worry, you see your roof is kind of see-through right now. It's not going to be later. We're going to go in and change that as well. There's a lot of little things we're going to change, but we're starting to get close, people. So do me a favor, download that door. Make sure you download these roof drains, get them placed in there. And when we pick back up, we've got to figure out what we're going to do with this roof down here on this lower area. Okay, we're going to have a precast roof down here, and we're going to have to talk about how we're going to have to detail that on the lower section of our building as well. So we're making some progress. Hopefully you'll get caught up by our lesson on Tuesday, and we'll pick right back up in our detailing lab and continue on. Okay.